May 4th, 1988. A television engineer is on Black Mountain fixing a transmitter. He looks down. 1 mile away, a chemical plant is on fire in Henderson, Nevada. He points his camera at it. 13 minutes later, he captures the largest explosion in American history, an industrial fire so violent that its shock wave flattened brush across the desert floor and registered on seismographs 600 miles away. Most people think that footage came from a KLAS-TV news crew. It did not. Dennis Todd was a broadcast engineer working on transmission equipment at the top of Black Mountain. Routine maintenance. He spotted the fire from elevation, grabbed his camera, and recorded. He had no idea what he was about to witness. Here is what was burning. 11:30 a.m., Henderson, Nevada. At ground level, a welding crew is making a routine repair in the batch dryer building. Something ignites and the fire spreads. PEPCON had no automatic fire suppression system, no fire detection, and no audible alarm. Workers grab standpipe hoses and try to fight it manually. When a second crew opens another line, the water pressure drops. Both lines go slack, and the fire keeps burning. 13 minutes. In a facility with working sprinklers, the fire dies at the source. But PEPCON had no sprinklers because they were storing something they said was not dangerous. At 11:44 a.m., the fire reaches the first container. There is a small detonation. 75 of the 77 workers evacuate. Most of them were on an informal lunch break when the blast hit. 2 men stay behind. PEPCON and Kerr-McGee were the only 2 producers of ammonium perchlorate in the Western world. Ammonium perchlorate is the oxidizer in solid rocket fuel, specifically the fuel that powered space shuttle boosters. January 28, 1986. The Space Shuttle Challenger exploded 73 seconds after liftoff, killing all 7 crew members. NASA suspended the shuttle program for 2.5 years. No shuttle launches meant no ammonium perchlorate shipments, but production continued. Normal inventory became a catastrophic stockpile. By May 4th, 1988, PEPCON was holding 4,500 tons of ammonium perchlorate on site. The facility occupied fewer than 15 acres. Buildings were separated by fewer than 50 feet. 1.5 miles away, Kerr-McGee held a similar stockpile, which raises the question: if you have 4,500 tons of rocket fuel oxidizer sitting in a residential area, why are the storage rules so lax? Ammonium perchlorate was classified as a Class 4 oxidizer, not an explosive. That oxidizer classification meant less stringent storage regulations than explosives. PEPCON could stockpile thousands of tons under rules designed for far smaller quantities, but the storage configuration itself created the explosive hazard. Ammonium perchlorate was stored in polyethylene drums with aluminum liners. That combination approximates the formula for rocket fuel. The oxidizer, the fuel casing, and the metal were all in one container. As a result, ammonium perchlorate stored this way produced 150% of the explosive strength of equivalent TNT. The Environmental Protection Agency considers soil dangerous at 1 part per billion of certain contaminants. PEPCON was storing material that tested at 150% TNT, equivalents in combustible containers, even though it was classified as an oxidizer. They knew the batch dryer building had caught fire. It had burned before, from belt friction, electrical sparks, and welding sparks. PEPCON had been cited repeatedly since 1974, with 30 OSHA violations on record. They never installed a suppression system in that building. That classification, oxidizer not explosive, gave them 13 minutes between ignition and detonation. 2 men used that time to save others. Roy Westerfield was 62, the company controller. Post-polio syndrome limited his mobility. When the first small blast hit at 11:44, he stayed behind to call 911. His voice is on the dispatch. Recording, he gave the plant address and the phone number, and he asked for every available unit. Then he tried to get out. His body was never recovered after the final detonation. Bruce Halker was 56, the plant manager. He used a wheelchair and he could not escape the facility in time. His remains were found 25 yards from the plant, and his clothing had been blown off. There was no fire alarm, no evacuation plan, and no system to assist anyone with limited mobility. 75 of 77 employees survived. Most of them survived because that first small blast at 11:44 gave a 9-minute warning before the main stockpile detonated. 11:53 a.m. The fire reaches the main stockpile. Dennis Todd's camera is still recording from Black Mountain. The largest blast was equivalent to 250 tons of TNT. It was about a 1 kiloton tactical nuclear weapon. It measured 3.5 on the Richter scale. Seismographs detected it 600 miles away. You can see the shock wave in the footage, the compression front flattening brush as it crosses the desert floor toward the camera. The sound arrives seconds later because Todd is a mile away. Light moves faster than sound. The Kid Marshmallow factory was demolished. The blast buffeted a Boeing 737 on final approach at McCarran Airport. A man was knocked down on the 30th floor of the Las Vegas Hilton, 8 miles away. Pat Rose was 22 years old. He had pulled over on Lake Mead Drive, 2,000 feet from the plant, to watch the fire. A rock from the blast burrowed into his skull, causing permanent speech impairment and limited mobility. 372 people were injured, $100 million in damage, $228 million was in 2024 dollars. The crater was 15 feet deep and 200 feet long. That is what happens when 4,500 tons of improperly stored oxidizer detonates. Here is what PEPCON knew before May 4th. 30 OSHA violations, repeated citations since 1974, 4 willful violations. Previous fires in the batch dryer building, the same building where the welding repair ignited on May 4th. No automatic fire suppression anywhere except the administration building. No fire detection system. No audible alarm. No formal evacuation plan. PEPCON carried $1 million in liability insurance, purchased less than 1 month before the explosion, covering a facility that held thousands of tons of oxidizer in combustible containers. Total OSHA penalty proposed for those 30 violations, $36,455. Fred Gibson, CEO of American Pacific Corporation, PEPCON's parent company, called the citations wholly without merit. No criminal charges were filed against anyone at PEPCON or American Pacific Corporation. FEMA denied disaster assistance. A $71 million settlement in 1992 went largely to insurance companies recovering payouts on 17,000 property claims. There is no memorial at the former PEPCON site. After PEPCON, Henderson banned hazardous chemical operations. The plant moved 14 miles outside Cedar City, Utah. PEPCON renamed itself Western Electrochemical Company. The new site covered 150 acres. It was 10 times larger than the Henderson plant. Buildings were separated by more than 500 feet instead of fewer than 50 feet. Nevada passed the Chemical Catastrophe Prevention Act in 1991. PEPCON became a case study for OSHA's Process Safety Management Standard in 1992, the regulation that governs chemical plant safety today. In 1998, American Pacific acquired Kerr-McGee's ammonium perchlorate business. Before PEPCON, there were 2 producers in the Western world. Afterward, there was one. The risks did not disappear. They were consolidated. Pat Rose lives with permanent speech and mobility impairment. Roy Westerfield and Bruce Halker are gone.
Thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button in the middle for more corporate negligence, environmental health disasters, and abandonment stories from across America and beyond. Then click the video on the left to watch similar stories, like this. Or if you really want to get stuck in, click the playlist on the right. New videos every Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. I'll see you in the next video.